La 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 la
It is so good to be together, to have music that does not just happen in solos on Zoom, to be sharing in this physical space in 3 dimensions for those of us here, and for those of us at home. We feel you, we feel our connection to you, and so blessed to be arriving in this moment. It is good to be together. It is good. It is good to be with our brothers and sisters. Hine Matov, page 1.
הנה מה טוב ומנעים שברחים גם יחד. 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 How good it is, how good it is, how sweet it is.
How sweet it is
To be together on this day. How good it is.
How good it is.
How sweet it is.
How sweet it is
To be together on this day. Hine matov umanayim sheverachim gam yachad. Hine matov umanayim sheverachim gam yachad. How good it is!
How good it is.
How sweet it is
How sweet it is
to be together on this day. How good it is.
How good it is.
How sweet it is
How sweet it is
to be together on this day. Yeah, 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 yeah. Hine matov umanayim sheverachim gam yachad. Hine matov umanayim sheverachim gam yachad.
Shana Tova. It has been a year like no other. A whole year since Rosh Hashanah at home in 2020. And in that time, there's been healing and wounding, trauma and beauty and love, loneliness and torment, solitude and connection, progress and defeat. I hope there has been learning. So many times I thought out loud, my goal is simply to survive. And tonight, if nothing else, we celebrate making it to this moment, all of us here. In gathering, we give ourselves and one another a gift. Time out of time to reflect on what we're living through, to heal together, to learn together, to remember that we're not alone. Being together, even in a shared hybrid virtual space, helps us to appreciate our blessings and recommit to our highest values. And even, dare I say it, to sing together with joy. This year, our musical team in one place that is not my living room, Dayenu for that. Dayenu for that. Thank God for the simple things. So before we step too far into our service, I want to just offer a special welcome to anyone who is joining Or Shalom for the first time, and those of you would be online, I'm sure. And so I offer these words from our member, Danny Brook, a longtime participant in our Considering God Salon, to just give you a taste of who we are as a community and also just make sure that everyone knows how welcome they are. For those who believe in God, and for those who don't, for those who struggle in any way, all are welcome at Or Shalom. So wherever you are, physically, spiritually, we're glad you're here with us. And we hope that you find something that will inspire you, that will open your heart, that will help you to align yourself with your deepest sense of what is important as we return to the sacred season of now 5782. I'll say one more thing. So for those of you who are here in person, who have an honor, who are coming up, this is the podium where we'll have people do readings. Please do keep your masks on for those. And I think that's all we need. So let's open with Return Again on page 1.
Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the source of it all. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the source of it all. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul.
I'd like to invite Misha to come up and read a piece from Marge Piercy.
The moon is dark tonight, a new moon for a new year. It is hollow and hungers to be full. It is the black zero of beginning. Now you must void yourself of injuries, insults, incursions. Go with empty hands to those you have hurt and make amends. It is not too late. It is early and about to grow. Now is the time to do what you know you must and have feared to begin. Your face is dark too as you turn inward to face yourself, the hidden twin of all you must be, you must grow to be. Forgive the dead year, forgive yourself. What will be wants to push through your fingers. The light you seek hides in your belly. The light you crave longs to stream from your eyes. You are the moon that will wax in new goodness.
Thank you. So we bring in the new year with candles, and I'd like to call up Diane, Ken, Isaac, and Eleanor to be our candle lighters. If you have candles at home, now's a good time to light them. And as they're coming up and saying the blessing, I invite those who are tuning in on YouTube Live to write any blessings that you have received in the past year into the chat and share with each other those good things that you're appreciating as we enter our new year.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu hadlik ner shel Yom Tov.
Amen. Okay. Light the candle. Thank you. Shana Tova. There's so many things that we have to be thankful for. I think this year has been a long meditation on reminding us to appreciate the small things, but there are also some big things to be appreciating, and I'm standing right next to one of them, which is a beautiful table that has been lovingly created by Ken Seidman, one of our members who gave it to the community right as lockdown began. And so we have been waiting for a very long time to have the chance to make use of this in 3D space and to read Torah on it, to lead services from it. So I'm going to name this table. I'm going to name the blessing of all of us making music together, of all of us who are here together, and even the blessing of tech, which is allowing us to connect to people far at a distance. For all those blessings and more, we give thanks, and we turn to the words of the Shehechianu, a blessing for new beginnings and appreciating every moment. Turn to page 3 for the call to prayer, the Baraku, and we turn eastward, which
we are facing
is
east.
That way. So I invite those of you who can turn east to turn east. We turn to page 4 as we mark the changing of the light and the coming of evening.
Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, becomes day, day turns to night, roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. We will build a world from love. Olam chesed yibaneh. Olam chesed yibaneh. La 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 la. Olam chesed yibaneh. La 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 la. Olam chesed yibaneh. La 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 la. Olam chesed yibaneh. La 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 la. I will build this world from love. I will build this world from love. La 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 la. You can build this world from love. You can build this world from love. La 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 la. And if we build this world from love, if we build this world from love, la 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 la, then God will build this world from love. God will build this world from love. La 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 la.
Olam chesed.
Olam chesed yibaneh. La 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 la. Olam chesed yibaneh. La 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 la. Olam chesed yibaneh. La 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 la. Olam chesed yibaneh. La la la
So I'd like now to call up Charlie Varon to offer us a year in review.
We gather this evening as a community, some of us in person and some of us virtually, to witness the passing of another year. We remember, we reflect, we take stock. Since we gathered a year ago, the Earth has completed another orbit around the sun. The Earth is still spinning, and so are we. At this time a year ago, we did not know that Joe Biden would win the presidential election. We did not know that Georgia would elect 2 Democratic senators, John Ossoff and Reverend Raphael Warnock, and that would make the difference in the control of the Senate. And we did not know that on January 6th, an armed mob would attack the U.S. Capitol in an attempt to overturn the election. Let's all take a breath and stop to think about what we have lived through and what we are living through right now. Pandemic, vaccines, Delta variant, mask mandates, schools reopening, climate change, heat waves, wildfires, drought, flooding, hurricanes, the Taliban taking power in Afghanistan, Haiti reeling from a major earthquake and a presidential assassination, ongoing threats to our democracy in the U.S., including an increase in voter suppression laws, an attempt to recall Governor Gavin Newsom, violence directed at Asian Americans, backlash against the movement for Black lives. In Texas, a ban on nearly all abortions. And in the Senate, the filibuster remains in place. And at the same time, activism, grassroots groups engaging, persisting, not giving up on humanity or the planet. In the last year, a new presidential administration took over, one that embraced decency and rational discourse. A moratorium on evictions temporarily protected many renters. Congress passed nearly $2 trillion in COVID relief, and the expanded child tax credit has already kept 3 million children out of poverty in just the first round of payments. In the last year, the world surpassed 4 billion COVID vaccine doses administered and surpassed 4 million deaths due to COVID-19. About 20% of Americans have lost a close friend or family member to COVID. Among Black and Latino Americans, about 30% have lost a friend or family member to COVID. In the last year, we all tried to figure out what was and was not safe. Most of us, perhaps all of us, have been shaken to the core. We have had to deal with uncertainty and unknowns at every level, in our personal lives, our family lives, our communities, our country, and our world. To the young people and parents and caregivers and teachers in our community, let's stop and notice what a hard year this has been and the great distance between what life has been like and what we would wish. To healthcare workers, firefighters, first responders, farm workers, delivery people, and other essential workers, we owe our comfort to you, and in many cases, our lives. In the last year, activists organized for justice, for peace, for universal health care, for voting rights, for climate justice, and environmental sustainability. Around the world, millions of people worked for universal access to safe food, shelter, and clean water. In the last year, without warning or preparation, human beings entered into moments of intense joy. In the last year, some of us were not able to be with those we love. Some of us couldn't get enough time away from those we love. Some of us have lost family members and friends. Some have struggled with illness, injury, addiction, and unemployment. Some have been blessed with healing and new beginnings. Let us reflect on what we have learned this past year, what we've learned about ourselves, what we've learned about loved ones and about our community, what we've learned about the world, what we've learned about our purpose in life. There are 8 days left before the California governor recall election. Make sure everyone you know turns in their ballot. Shana Tova.
Thank you, Charlie. So we're going to continue with one of the central prayers of our tradition on page 5. And as we prepare to do that, I'd like to call up Asher to come to the podium, because he'll be leading the Via Hafta shortly. And for this prayer, we're going to really take our time. We're going to have one breath for each word, and I'll just tell a little story about this prayer. There was a moment, I think it was actually before last Rosh Hashanah. It was sometime not long after we started praying on Zoom. And some of you have heard this story before, but if you know me, you know I'm just not a tech person. I'm the sort of family Luddite, and it's not comfortable for me. So the idea of praying in front of a camera on a screen and messing with all the keyboard, it was really, really hard for me, and it often just removed me from feeling like I could be in my, in my soul groove. And one of the first times that I do have a groovy soul, and so one of the first times it worked for me, one of the most powerful times still, was this moment saying the Shema and closing my eyes and just imagining everybody who had just been a little box on my screen really, really remembering that they really weren't just two-dimensional beings, remembering that we were all in our own places, wherever we were. And I was imagining that wherever we were filling our space with that sound of this expanded Shema, and light was going out. And I just had this image of, what if all of the people who were singing that prayer at that moment actually were illuminated and had these connecting lights between us, and just imagining this kind of spider web of light crisscrossing the city in that moment, because we shared that moment. And I felt it. I felt it. And so I'm going to invite us to try to do that right now. For all of us in this room to just be really aware of filling this space, and for all of us to also be aware of the people at home. And if you're at home, to just close your eyes and really try to imagine that there is something. It might be invisible. It's not imaginary. Whatever it is, there is a connection happening in this moment across space between us. So, with that, the words are on page 5 if you need them. And if you don't need them, even if you think you might not need them, close your eyes. It works much better. Shema And everybody will join if you can.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol meodecha ve'chayu hadvarim ha'eleh asher anochi Metzavecha, Hayoma Levavcha, Veshinantam Levanecha, Vedibartabam, Beshivtecha Betecha, Uvletecha Vadere, Ushobecha, Uvekumecha, Ushartam Leot, Al Yadecha, Vehayula Totafot, Beneneha, Uftavtam, Almesizot, Betecha, Uvisharecha.
We turn to page 6, and we immerse ourselves in a story of our people, the story of the Exodus, the story of coming through very difficult times, finding ourselves between walls of water, unsure if there was going to be a happy ending, but dancing and singing anyhow on our way. Micha Mocha, page 6.
La 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 ya 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 la 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 mi kamocha bailim Adonai. Hilot o sefele ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 la. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it.
Continuing on page 6 with a prayer for peace.
Shalom Rava Yisrael Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rava Yisrael Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech Adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech Adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov b'necha levarech et amcha Yisrael v'chol et uve'ol sha'a b'shlomecha. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam.
A year ago, in the midst of heavy-duty lockdown, I took some hope from desperate places. The spirituality of disruption, I would call it. The idea that in all of the breaking and the losing and the stopping, there was hope to be found in spite of, maybe because of, the pain. This great global pause has disrupted more than just the hugs and interchange which sustains us. It has also interrupted so much of what was not good about our pre-pandemic lives. Carbon commuting, systemic racism, lifestyles of unsustainable consumption, so much more. And in the disruption, I saw opportunity. It was challenging deep assumptions, making us aware. It was showing us we could change. I admit, as of yet, the pandemic has not so far ushered in the era of utopian enlightenment that I have been praying for. Even so, there is one arena in which profound transformation seems to be unfolding with unstoppable force, and that is the arena of work. People are losing jobs and quitting jobs. Companies are deciding whether to go permanently remote. Countries are experimenting with the 4-day work week. Low-wage workers have finally been recognized as essential, even as they continue to suffer low wages and occupational hazards. Parents have had a long, difficult meditation on the links between childcare, school, work, and the consequences of an inadequate social safety net. We're still in the midst of it all. Even as other pre-pandemic ways begin to resume, our way of working continues to transform. And I believe that we may be seeing a once-in-a-century reshuffle economically, which challenges our assumptions and gives us the chance to reconstruct the meaning of work in our lives and our culture as we emerge. Rather than reverting to what we thought we knew before the pandemic, it's a chance to let bigger questions illuminate the way forward. questions that go far beyond matters of professional employment. What is the work of humanity? What is the work that humanity is meant to do in this world, and what is the particular work of our moment? And again, I'm not talking here about just jobs. I'm talking about the ways in which human beings relate to the world around us and the purpose which motivates our actions. You may know that this past summer I had a mini sabbatical, and ironically, I spent most of it studying and writing about how the concept and practice of work is changing right now, and what Jewish tradition might have to say about it. And the paradox that I see emerging is this: some of the most important work of our moment is rest. For the sake of humanity, for the sake of the earth, a kind of stillness that asks us to move away from an exploitative, unsustainable relationship with ourselves, other humans, and the planet. To put it another way, after 7 weeks off this summer, I have come to the conclusion that Shabbat is going to save the world. So let me explain. I love preaching to the choir. It's just so great. Thank you, choir. Thank you, choir. I love you. Okay, so I'm going to explain this. Let's just remember that when we're talking about the nature of work and rest, the Jews have already had a 3,000-year, very juicy discussion about this topic as we've wrestled with the meaning and practice of Shabbat. So thank God there's a lot to guide us, a lot to dig into, and I promise I won't impose upon you all the pages and pages I wrote this summer, just a little sample. So my sister pointed something out to me recently. Isn't it curious, she said, that there's a commandment to rest and not a commandment to work? Wouldn't we expect that people would naturally prefer to spend our time resting than working? Yet God seems to think we need a reminder, even a commandment, to rest. There seems to be an assumption that we will, for some reason, perhaps by our very nature, perhaps out of necessity, work without being commanded to work. I can relate to that. There are times I have trouble letting go of my work, when my mind can't release it, when the job seems to demand it. Times I tell myself I may be tired, but I have to push through because someone needs me, or it'll just pile up worse if I take time, or I'll disappoint someone, or whatever state things are in, it just isn't good enough. Or maybe I'm just afraid of what I might feel or need to face if I stop being so busy. There are a million excuses to keep working all the time. No, God doesn't have to command us to work. Apparently, God tells us instead to rest. But that is only part of the commandment if you look at it closely. The commandment to rest on Shabbat is, of course, one of the Big Ten. If you've studied, you may know that there are two versions of those 10 commandments in the Torah, one in the book of Exodus and one in the book of Deuteronomy. And each instance has an identical passage which makes it clear Shabbat, the Sabbath, is not just for the Jews, it's not just for free people, it's not even just for people. We are commanded to give rest to ourselves, our servants, and even the animals that we use for labor. In the Exodus version, the Torah explains the origin of Shabbat in this way: "For in 6 days did God make the heavens and the earth, the sea and all that is in them, and God rested on the seventh day." This is the text I turn to when I tell myself I'm not allowed to rest when I need it. Rest is a God-given right built into the very fabric of creation. If even God needed to rest, surely us humans do, and it's not some kind of failing or weakness to regularly take time off. In Deuteronomy, the reason for Shabbat is quite different. That your maidservant and your manservant may rest as well as you, For you shall remember that you were a slave, a servant in the land of Egypt, and that Adonai your God brought you out of there with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm. Therefore, Adonai your God commanded you to observe the Sabbath day. Here in Deuteronomy, the context of the Ten Commandments is quite different. Moses is giving his final farewell speech to a new generation as they're about to enter a new land and build a sacred society. Shabbat becomes part of how they're going to create a society that is just and holy and not just a new kind of Egyptian slavery. Moses reminds them that our deep core identity as once slaves means that we cannot live in ways that enslave ourselves or others to endless toil. Instead, we're commanded to observe Shabbat and extend that Shabbat to every person or creature who serves us. This has radical implications. Practicing Shabbat is not just a personal set of choices. It's about how we structure the economy. What would it mean to remake our economy in a way that allows every person to rest every week? It's an idea we are far from achieving in contemporary America. Just ask the workers from the Kansas Frito-Lay plant who had to strike to get a guaranteed weekly day off in the past year. Or the single mothers who must hold multiple minimum wage jobs to stay above the poverty line if they're lucky. Or the white-collar executives who are expected to stay on top of email and text messages 7 days a week. For so many, it's not about personal choices. The deep structure of our current economic reality and culture, that culture of nonstop work, violates the possibility of Shabbat. Other parts of the Torah push the concept even further. Not just human beings of every social and political status, not just our work animals, but even the land itself deserves a rest. This is the practice of sabbatical, Shemitah, which is particularly relevant to our moment right now, and not just because I just had a sabbatical. As of this evening, as of right now, the sun is down, and we have passed into 5782, which is officially a sabbatical year, according to the ancient Jewish calendar. Leviticus 25 describes sabbatical as a year-long Sabbath of complete rest for the land. Agricultural work ceases, and the people live on stored grain and whatever the land produces naturally. Deuteronomy 15 adds another dimension to the sabbatical year, the cancellation of debt and indentured servitude. Every 7 years, there is to be an economic and agricultural reset. Every 7 years, sabbatical gives the land a break and interrupts the economic systems which entrench wealth and poverty. In this way, both Shabbat and sabbatical teach us alternatives to exploitation. They invite us to consider ourselves, one another, and the earth as valuable in ways that go beyond economic utility. 1/7 of our time, we are invited to remember we're enough. The earth is enough. Even in a state of totally unproductive being, which earns no money and makes no progress towards achievement, there is value. At the risk of appearing slightly heretical, I'm going to share with you one of my favorite Shabbat activities to demonstrate this point. Some of you know this already. I hereby confess I'm a closet Shabbat gardener. I do sometimes worry that I may be violating Shabbat with my labors in the backyard, but there are a couple of reasons I don't consider it work. For one thing, my garden is not the occupation that provides parnasa, a living, for my family. And it's a good thing, too, because if it was, we would be starving. But it's more than that. It's about the way that I relate to myself and the earth when I'm in the garden. Part of what tells me I'm on the right track is that I'm not doing it for some kind of end product. I may from time to time get a harvest of chard, but I'm in it for the pleasure of the process. My broccolini has spent as much time being a bunch of flowering bee food as it has been giving us dinner. So when I'm in the garden on Shabbat, I'm not working myself to the point of stress. I'm not squeezing the most I can out of my tiny piece of land. I'm delighting in living things, their beauty, in the ways I can heal them and nurture them and receive my own nourishment and healing from them. The work I do in the garden on Shabbat is not exploitative, it's generative. Maybe if I was a farmer for my day-to-day employment, I would need to stop gardening on Shabbat, but for me, it's a welcome rest from the constant digital communication, the emotional work, and the brain work of my job. It's not about fixing anything or checking off a box. It's about delighting in being alive. And that's what makes it something I feel is appropriate for Shabbat, for me. So as I was exploring the shifts in our culture of work this summer, I discovered some surprising contemporary movements that challenge the workaholic norms around us. And I just want to tell you about a couple of them. One is called the Nap Ministry in Atlanta, which proclaims, "Rest is resistance." And in China, there's a growing movement called Tang Ping, lying flat, which was born out of a manifesto of a 31-year-old factory worker who quit to reclaim the right to choose a slow lifestyle instead of what they call 996, which is the expectation, apparently, in middle-class Chinese culture of working 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. 6 days a week. So you can find this guy singing on YouTube while lying flat on a couch, strumming a guitar, and I understand that that video, as well as his manifesto, are all banned on Chinese internet because it's apparently very threatening. I found both of these movements in an article titled "Work is a False Idol" by Cassidy Rosenblum, who writes about how the pause of the pandemic has led her and so many others to see the way our relationship to work isn't working. She writes, "Here in the hills, the new silence of my days, deepened by the solitude of the pandemic, has allowed me to observe the state of our planet in the year 2021. And it looks to be on fire as our oligarchs take to space. From my view down here on the carpet, I see a system that even if it bounces back to normal, I have no interest in rejoining, a system that's beginning to become undone. Maybe there is another way. Even before 5782 ushers us into a sabbatical year right now, the pandemic has already provided a rare glimpse into what a widespread economic pause looks like. For an extended stretch of time, the most important way for us to save lives was to just stay home and stop our ordinary activities. The order to shelter in place gave us a strange, unfamiliar mandate in our American culture of pathological productivity. Stop all this endless doing, all this constant transportation. Just be. It's enough. Now, the time of the caribou taking over public space has passed. The skies over my backyard are once again filled with loud airplanes. School in person has begun again. But what did we learn from that pause? What could we yet learn or change as this disruption continues to play out in our lives? Many things, I think, many things. Maybe we don't have to get back on the frantic pre-pandemic hamster wheel. Maybe we can drive around less, work less, consume less, and rest more. Maybe we can prioritize time with family more than we ever did. Maybe we can carve out the time to read, to exercise, to bake, to garden, all those things we discovered at home when we didn't have a choice but to be there. We would be happier for it. We would be better for it. And the earth would be better for it too. There's so much more to say. And we've barely even touched what this could mean for climate change and more sustainable ways for the human beings that we are to live on our earth, but I promised I would try to do my part in keeping this service shorter. I've already gone on too long, so in case I wasn't clear already, I will try to say it plainly. As we begin to build our world on the other side of this pandemic, I hope you can do yourself this favor. Don't be in such a hurry to be in such a hurry again. Build in more rest. It doesn't have to be a traditional Shabbat. It doesn't have to be completely lying flat. It helps to do it with others. It helps to have a regular rhythm. Could be turning off social media. Could be having a special regular meal with people you love. It could be defending a slice of time for a hobby that has nothing to do with making money. It could be saying no to one activity or yes to another. I invite you to think tonight and as we pause for Rosh Hashanah about how you might be able to preserve some of the slow pace that we learned in this last difficult year. And I want to end with a poem by Pablo Neruda called Keeping Quiet, which many people have, I think, been turning to in this year. Now we will count to 12 and we will all keep still. This one time upon the earth. Let's not speak any language. Let's stop for 1 second and not move our arms so much. It would be such a delicious moment without hurry, without locomotives. All of us would be together in a sudden uneasiness. The fisherman in the cold sea would do no harm to the whales, and the peasant gathering salt would look at his torn hands. Those who prepare green wars, wars of gas, wars of fire, victories without survivors, would put on clean clothing and would walk alongside their brothers in the shade without doing a thing. What I want shouldn't be confused with final inactivity. I want nothing to do with death. If we weren't so unanimous about keeping our lives so much in motion, if we could do nothing for once, perhaps a great silence would interrupt this sadness, this never understanding ourselves and threatening ourselves with death. Perhaps the earth is teaching us when everything seems to be dead and then everything is alive. Now I will count to 12, and you keep quiet, and I'll go. So, we're going to take a moment now to pray for healing. And that's on every level. Healing for people who need physical healing from illness, from injuries, people who are healing from loss and grief, people who are healing in every level, and of course also for ourselves. And if you're at home, you can put names now into the chat. In just a moment, as we sing a prayer for healing, I've asked Rochelle to read from our healing list. So, as you may know, Urshalom keeps a healing list, and if you have names on that list, we'll be reading them now. We also do read names of those people who are being accompanied by members of Rosh Shalom as they face our country's very difficult and fraught immigration system. So those folks are in need of a particular kind of healing and are also on our list. So our prayer for healing that we're going to turn to this evening is on page 8 at the top. And the words mean, "May the compassionate one bless our brothers and sisters, all human beings who are caught in suffering, and bring them out of darkness and despair and into light." Ya la la la, ya la la la, ay ay ay, ya la la la,
Sean Ann Davis, Shelley Simon, Kevin Stephens, Ishmael Quesada, Raz Edelson, Gerard Rekin, Elbanan Vernell, Christina Gultamino, Alex Page Oske, Doug Hubert, Lou Fisher, Barbara Bernstein, Tony, David Hallard, Madeline Colby Salzman, Pauline Charlton, Fred Goff, Susan Cho, Stan Goldberg, Avishag Baal Zaman Yehudi, Jeff Balch, Simon Grimwald, Brandy Jackson, Powell Hauser, Kevin Shaw, Ellen Jones, Adam Pastor, Dennis Collins, Martin Schultz, Charles Small, Gary Cohen, Audrey Rosenheim, Tara Trudell, Batjan Velu, Barhesi, George, Judy Bush, Dalia Prado, Catherine Diamond, Gabriela Schwartz, Sharon Richardson, Danny Weiss, Jonathan Ishkati, Lisa Dayan, Sam Geffner, Phyllis Throom. We are all praying for healing for Ivan, Melvin, Patrice, Kevin, Maria and her sons, Jose Eduardo, Belisa, Diego, Edgardo.
Turn to page 22. Anu Amecha is a prayer of the season that reminds us one side of healing is about coming into right relationship with what is holy, with ourselves, with the earth, with all that is beyond us.
Anu Amecha
hiding in this little compartment here is this amazing alarm clock. This amazing device that has been used by our people for thousands of years to wake ourselves up, also to just keep ourselves together. You know, there are a lot of moments that we see the shofar in the Torah, and one of them that I love, that I think about in the past couple of years, is that when we were wandering through the wilderness, and we were 1 million people, can you imagine 1 million Israelites wandering around with no cell phones, no GPS, no way to communicate other than the shofar. This was one of the tools we had, and the calls that we had from this device helped us to orient ourselves and to know where one another were and to know which way to go and how to stay together. So, there's so many associations with the ram's horn, but the one that comes to me now is just this communication calling device that we use to stay connected to each other even when we're far from each other. Even when we can't see one another across the wilderness, even when we're going from one unknown situation to another, this keeps us together and helps us to stay a part of the same people going in the same direction. So as we encounter the shofar this evening, I hope that for us in our community and beyond, that it can be a tool for connection across distance and a way for us to stay in touch with one another, even though we're facing unknowns and trying to find our connections with a lot of challenge. So I'd like to call up Jude, there he is. He has his own shofar, and he's going to be our shofar sounder. If you have a shofar at home, I invite you to get it ready. And the blessing for the shofar is on page 14. You ready? So, great. Please join me in please rise. Thank you. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lishmoa kol shofar. Tekiah, shvarim, teruah, tekiah, shvarim, teruah, tekiah gdolah. Woohoo! Thank you, Jude. Amazing. All right, please stay standing. And we're about to take some time for a silent Amidah. So in this silence, if you have a meditation practice that you have cultivated, you can engage that now. You can also just take this time to reflect, as we've already been doing, on the year that has passed. You can take this time to go back in time and mark different important moments, not just in the world, but in your own life, in your family life. You may also want to take some time to reflect on things that you would like to change, to release, If there are mistakes that you've made in this year or in the past before this year, this is the season to bring those into your awareness, not in a way that is unproductive and self-punishing, but in a way that is clear-sighted, that understands where those things arose from, and of course the hope is to release them and to be released from those mistakes of the past. So you can reflect on those. Can take a moment also to connect with what's in your heart that's a hope, a yearning, a need. You can connect to the things you pray for, the things you hope for in your life, in the lives of those you love, in the world around us. You may find words coming to your lips or into your heart. You may notice that your mind wanders, and if so, just gently bring it back to your practice, whatever direction you've taken, and notice what's distracting you. That can sometimes be a useful, interesting, helpful spiritual piece of information. And finally, in the tradition of Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav, you may want to focus also on something that you feel proud of, something you feel you did well, some point of light in this year or the time before this year, a spot of goodness in yourself that should be acknowledged. And through acknowledging those points of goodness and light, we can expand them. Part of Teshuvah, of this great turning we undertake at this time, is not just turning away from what is not serving us, but also turning towards the core of goodness that each of us has at our center. Take a few more moments of silence together. So you may be seated. And I'd now like to invite Matt Rudolph, our president of the board, to speak to us on this sacred night.
Good evening. Whether online or here on site, welcome to all who are attending our service tonight. Our guests, or who are new or familiar to Or Shalom, and our members, with a special welcome to our new and returning members. As a newly minted board president, I feel honored to be addressing all of you on this Erev Rosh Hashanah. Before I share with you a few highlights of the last year and the initiatives now underway and upcoming, I first want to thank our past president, Hannah Jacobs, for her committed leadership of the Or Shalom community the past 3 years, especially through the last difficult year and a half of the pandemic. I also wish to express gratitude to the former and current board and committee members, to the music ensemble and the choir, to the teachers and staff, and to so many of our members who volunteer in both public and behind-the-scenes ways to keep Or Shalom running in such a vibrant and vital fashion. And of course, much gratitude to our cantorial soloist, Allison Faith Levy, and to our rabbi, Katie Mizrahi. Just very grateful to both of you. We know that the High Holy Days services this year are not being held how we had all hoped they would be, in person for all and free of most, if not all, restrictions. Everyone attending tonight feels that frustration and sadness. Difficult choices have had to be made by shoals across the Bay Area, the country, and the world. I want to thank the Or Shalomers who had to wrestle with how best to proceed with and plan this year's High Holy Days. Under ever-changing circumstances and state and local protocols, always keeping at highest priority the health of not just our own Or Shalom community, but the community at large. Thank you to all who are here tonight and will be for the upcoming services for your participation on the Bima and behind the scenes to make these services happen and available to all, whether here in this sanctuary or in the sanctuary of our homes. For whatever these services are this year, let us count them as blessings. Where there is a will, there is a way, and the Or Shalom community, its leaders and its members, prove this time and time again. Perhaps never more so than during this pandemic, has Or Shalom willed itself away through a multitude of challenges and to a way forward. Over the past year, we continued to worship and conduct rituals online with Friday night Shabbat blessings, embodied spiritual practice, Torah study, and B'nai Mitzvah. Our programming also continued online with adult education, the book group, Considering God Salon, and a craft circle, among others. The Bet Sefer students learned online through the school year, and our teens met monthly online, engaging in discussions and activities, including interviewing adult Or Shalom members about their lives and their Jewishness. You can see a few of the interviews on our YouTube channel, and they will continue to be featured in our weekly newsletter in the coming weeks. Thankfully, and with such relief and joy, some events were held in person this summer outdoors. We held an end-of-school year picnic at Lake Merced, shared Shabbats at Pine Lake Park with music and singing, and parents and children enjoyed a few Sing Shalom Sundays in Golden Gate Park and on an excursion at Land's End. Just a couple of weeks ago, we held our annual members picnic at Mark's Meadow, which was followed by another Women's Circle gathering, a new opportunity that began this summer for members to safely socialize outdoors. Our ever-busy and dynamic Tikkun Olam Committee and all of the action groups continue to press for progress and social justice, often in conjunction with other faith communities, on issues such as healthcare, the environment, gun violence, voting rights, and immigration. As part of the new sanctuary movement, Sanctuary Or Shalom, a congregation-wide effort to support immigrants under threat in our community, has provided critical support to immigrants, including those who are in detention or searching for better living situations or are seeking reunification with their loved ones. Our Chesed committee, though not able to cook and provide food to the degree possible pre-pandemic, have continued to reach out to those at Or Shalom in need of support and comfort during these difficult times. Please know the folks on the Chesed Committee are there to help you if you need it. I encourage you to reach out to them if you or your family need support. Or Shalom depends upon these and other committees to keep things running and make decisions, keep members informed, active, and involved, grow our membership, guide our religious school, and advise the rabbi, the staff, and the board. If you're interested in becoming more involved with Or Shalom, you can find a list of committees on our website or reach out to the office or to any of us on the board for more information. Even if your capacity is limited, there are one-time events and tasks you can help with, such as serving on an upcoming 30th anniversary gala committee for an event in 2022, or volunteering to deliver the Purim gifts to your fellow members, blowing the shofar, as Jude did so wonderfully. No matter the level of commitment or time available, we invite you to get involved. One way we are planning to invigorate member involvement in the coming year is through the Belonging Initiative. Already, we have conducted a survey of our members, and that data is now being analyzed by a steering committee to institute new ways, such as establishing Havurot, of creating community and communal experiences across our membership and our demographics. Keep an eye out for updates as the Belonging Initiative rolls out in the coming weeks and months. The Belonging Initiative is part of the larger effort of long-term strategic planning that the board is undertaking in the next year. It has been some years since Or Shalom undertook formalized strategic planning, and despite the struggles the pandemic has posed, we now have an opportune time to reassess who we are and to chart our future. After a request for proposals, a steering committee is now reviewing submissions to advise the executive committee toward a selection and move forward with this effort, beginning immediately after the High Holy Days. Strategic planning will continue through the fall and winter, and it will involve not only the board, the staff, and the rabbi, but also input from our members. We will be considering multiple facets of Or Shalom and how they can be improved or reimagined and can better interrelate. Our governance structure, our community structures, communications, marketing, membership, fundraising, the religious school, and more, including planning for future indoor space. Or Shalom will continue to schedule rituals, programming, and events online and outdoors, even as we must remain prudent about how we can gather as the pandemic tide rises and falls. The Space Committee and the board continue to investigate and pursue possibilities for new indoor space or spaces for Or Shalom to conduct our rituals, learning, meetings, events, and celebrations. In the immediate future, we will celebrate Sukkot together on Friday, September 24th at Pine Lake, where we held a couple of our outdoor Shabbat services earlier this summer. Simchat Torah will be an online affair in partnership with Ner Tamid on September 28th. Beginning in October, we have the joy of upcoming B'nai Mitzvah, and many of them, some of which were pandemic delayed, and they will be held in person right here at the Unitarian Universalist Center. Before too long, we hope to share news of a location where we will be able to house most of Or Shalom's needs and wishes over the coming year, and as COVID-related circumstances permit. And we will continue to explore the city for opportunities that may lead to a more permanent indoor space. I believe we have much to look forward to in 5782 and beyond. Our children return to Bet Sefer and to the Teen Havara in October, and current planning is to meet in person with appropriate protocols. The B'nai Mitzvahs start in October and continue into the next year. Hanukkah will be here before we know it. On February 4th to 5th, Or Shalom will be hosting a weekend Shabbaton with Rabbi Dorothy Richmond, who serves as rabbi of Makor Or, Jewish meditation. We are planning for the Or Shalom annual community retreat at Walker Creek Ranch on May 20th to 22nd, and a 30th anniversary gala sometime in 2022. And of course, more online and outdoor Shabbats, meetings, education, and socializing. And I know we all look forward to the time when we can share food again. May that be so. Yes, there will be personal and community struggles as we continue to endure the pandemic and the uncertainties that plague us. But we are Or Shalom, we support each other, we cherish each other, we have the will, and together we shall find our way. May the sweetness we all taste on Rosh Hashanah sustain us through the coming year. Lashana Tova.
Thank you. So, thank you, Matt. Thank you for those words, and thank you for stepping into leadership at this challenging time. And you've done so with such strength and solidity, and it's a gift to be in partnership and leadership with you. Oh, let me take this off again. Forgot. So we're nearing the conclusion of our service, and no service would be complete without taking some time to remember those that we've loved and lost, which we do with the recitation of Kaddish. The Kaddish Prayer is on page 13. And we're going to remember people right now. So I have several lists that I will be turning to for that purpose. We remember the following yard sites, those losses in years gone by during this first half of September. Doris Kerman, Harry Miller, Leonard Levine, Margot Adair, Dale Gans, Ann Brooke, Dorothy Scala, Shirley Seligman, Russ Opper, Viola Golding, Sue Teller, Ruth Pleener, Michael Jacobs, Sarah Goldstein, Benjamin Agam, Laszlo Frankovitz, Tzvi Agam, Peter Miguel Camejo, Gussie Schechter, and Herman Hesh Schechter. We also remember the following loved ones who passed away between last Rosh Hashanah and tonight. Elaine Janis, Elsa Raven, Rebecca Braun, Gerald Newman, Jewel Burton Sr., Sandy Hudson, Joe Mandel, Leon Waxman, Herb Schneider, Dolores Hellman, Beth Bird, Daniel Axelrod, Alice Hamill, Harry Chesley, Robert Bernstein, John Gomez, Esther Rosker Ben-Ruby, Betty Garcia, Beverly Fine, Jerry Lynn Cohen, Igal Ben-Yona Menachem, Frida Makarov, Annie Borgenecht. And I'm sure those at home may have other names that you'd like to add, which you can do on the sidebar. If anyone in our space here is saying Kaddish, I invite you to rise. Anyone at home saying Kaddish, you can stand. And part of the comfort of Kaddish is that it's a prayer we say with our community. So whether we're here in person with a physical minyan, whether we're at home connecting to the minyan that we know is tuning in and sharing this moment, we find our strength by finding each other and knowing that even in times of loss, in times of suffering, we do not need to walk that path alone. Let us be here for one another as we mark our loved ones passing with the Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam ulalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudsha barichu. Le'ela ule'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. You may be seated. So I just want to tell you a little bit about what's coming up, and then we will conclude with another song or two. But where is it? Oh, here. So most immediately, first of all, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to everybody who has been part of being on the bima, off the bima. As Matt said earlier, it's been a real effort of so many people, visible and some very visible, some less visible, who are making all of this possible. So thank you to everyone who's had a role in High Holy Days so far and into the future. Thank you for that. We are, by necessity, not having a big food drive right now, but I do urge you not to let go of our practice of supporting the hungry at this time. So actually, I understand that a donation of money can be far more effective than a can of food. So it's a great time to donate to Mazon, the Jewish organization devoted to fighting hunger, or to your favorite food bank or other hunger organization. I encourage you to do that as part of your tzedakah practice in these high holy days between now and Yom Kippur particularly. Tomorrow we have 9 o'clock family service in person, and then our main service begins at 10:30. Some of you will be here in person, and some of us will be tuning in online, as happened this evening. The second day of Rosh Hashanah, Wednesday afternoon, we're going to be having our beach meditation and shofar service, followed by tashlich. This year we're doing it at 4 o'clock. We thought that would make it more accessible to people. So that'll be Wednesday. And please do sign up if you're planning on coming, because we need to keep track of names for the sake of contact tracing, if God forbid we need to do that. You can bring a shofar. If you do, please do cover the end of it with a mask. And if you don't have one, I'll bring some. But hope to see you on Wednesday afternoon at 4 o'clock. Oh, also for tashlich, we're recommending, which I guess is a new practice, to reconstruct the bread throwing and use small stones instead, because apparently it's much more healthy for the fish and the birds and the planet. So 4 o'clock Wednesday. The Shabbat between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur is also going to be full of a lot of opportunities. Friday night, we're going to be having a 6 o'clock Friday night blessing session, but it will be devoted to healing. So we're adapting the healing service that we ordinarily do on Yom Kippur, moving it to Friday night. And then Saturday morning will be a session of embodied spiritual practice with myself and Gail Gurowitz, exploring the theme of turning and returning in our bodies. Kol Nidre is Wednesday night, the 15th of September. Main services at 7, and the 16th, again in the morning, 10:30. And Yizkor and Ne'ilah will be at 6:30. So what does that mean? That means that usually on Yom Kippur, that last bit we do in the morning that's devoted to remembering our loved ones, that's moving to the beginning of the final service of the day. So that'll be 6:30, and then approximately 7 will be our Ne'ilah service for the end of Yom Kippur. Matt already told you about Sukkot and Simchas Torah, so I'll leave it there. And of course, you can find information about things besides all these holidays on our website, and the newsletter is really the best way to go. Again, thank you to everybody, volunteers and staff, who have been just so important in bringing all this together. Allison and Lillian, particularly grateful for you. All right, I think we are ready to go back to music making. So I invite you to turn to page 12 for Adon Olam. And if you came to my Elul session, I invite you to remember all of that teaching that learning we did about just about transcendence and about connecting to power beyond ourselves. Shana Tova, thank you for being here, and stay safe. Alive and true.
Shana Tova.
Zeh. All right. All right.